suggest the three of us?
There is.
Yeah.
We're going for quality today as opposed to quantity. Okay. As we approach 8:30.
You should be able to use it, and if you need to walk over, there's a pointer, so just laser.
Everyone ready? Ready? Chris?
Trey will be here.
Okay.
Well done.
In that case, good morning, everyone. I'd like to bring to order this morning's meeting of the Architectural Review and Planning Board of Thursday, May 26, 2022. Renee, please will you do the roll
Mr.
call?
Roach?
Here.
Mr. Canfield?
Here.
Chairman Murphy?
Here. We've all had our minutes given to us. Any amendments before we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second that.
Renee?
Mr. Roach? Yes.
Mr. Roach? Sorry. Mr. Canfield?
Yes.
Chairman Murphy?
Yes. Are there any additions, withdrawals, deferrals, or arrangement of agenda items to raise?
No, sir.
In that case, we move on. The forthcoming meeting dates, there's one typo. That meeting on June the 28th is June the 23rd. Well done.
Yeah.
But how are we off for attending that? I have to say that on July the 28th, I won't be.
July.
It's on the 23rd, though.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
June 23rd. And then,
This last meeting, you were iffy about June.
yeah,
It's
I've actually,
July.
yeah, I pushed it back.
Got it.
So that's a definite. Okay, thank you.
I may be unavailable, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. And now we move to the public part of the meeting hearing. Is there any declaration of ex parte communication?
No.
Thank you. Renee, please could you administer the oaths to anyone who wants to speak today?
Make sure I get your name before you leave. Yeah, I know everybody. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thanks, Renee. And with that, we move on to the first item on the agenda. And Mark, we hand over to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Mark Marsh, Bridges Marsh Architects. I'm also here with Tyler Frost, who's representing Navarro Williams, the landscape architects. This has very little to do with architecture. I'm just acting as agent, so I'll hand it over. Basically, it's improvements east of the existing residence at 1315 North Ocean Boulevard. Tyler will go through the presentation. It involves a special exception for retaining wall on the ocean side, and then there's a level 3 architectural review. So with that, I'll turn it over to young Tyler.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, I'm Tyler Frost. Hello.
It's not.
But you were the last one touching it, Mark.
You should be able to take it over. But if not, here you go.
For the record, sorry. Just obviously, we're representing Melissa and Joseph Walsh.
In this presentation, you can find the site. The core of the project is this back section of the property, where our plan is to demolish the existing hardscape, including the pool, and we will be installing a new pool. No additional hardscape, but we are putting up retaining walls. The rear of this property is a harsh slope, and we're trying to make a stepped podium area, which requires us to build retention walls past the 1978 line. So this is what is existing. This is the existing hardscape that we are wishing to remove, only the rear of the property. No trees will be removed. It will all remain. All we're doing is adding landscape at this point. This is the proposed new hardscape plan with the demolition of the previous pool. We are going to install a new pool. And those are those retention walls and steps that I was talking about. There's 2 walls that are going to kind of break up the harsh slope of the rear of the property and allow them to have some sort of seating area. And these walls will also not very much be visible to the rear of the property while you're walking on the beach. So we're not really adding that much visual obstruction. This is just the changes in topo where we are kind of breaking up that harsh slope. So this plan kind of illuminates that.
Can you point out where the CCCL is?
Yes,
Jason?
the
Just so that I know.
CCCL is right here, this line. This is the 15-foot, or this is the 15-foot offset line of the CCL. And this line right here is the CCL line as it stands.
Thank you.
And this section demonstrates the slope that we are proposing for the project. If you look on that right-hand side, you would see that, or you would see currently that this just is a sheer drop off to the seawall bulkhead. And we're trying to mitigate that and have it be more of an enjoyable space architecturally, and also an easier walk down to the shore for the owners themselves. And while we're not taking out any landscaping, we are implementing some with trees bordering the properties to act as kind of enclosing the space 15 feet off of the CCL line, so nothing goes above that 4-foot limit. And then also putting in some sea grape to block those retention walls. So when you're walking on the beach, you don't see these, they're low walls, but you don't see any white walls kind of ribboning the property, retaining that earth. This is a graphical representation of what we're hoping to achieve with the project. So it's just very thin walls, steps, and sea grape bordering everything. And this is a rendered elevation. That is the existing house taken by drone and photo rendered to show what we're hoping to achieve with the project. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
The pool pump, everything, all the mechanical side of it staying exactly where it is.
Exactly where it is. Yes, sir. There's no need to change it. We're pretty much putting the pool exactly where it was, slightly slid back because the current one goes past the CCL line.
Right.
So we're bringing the pool back and everything else can remain exactly where it is.
Okay. Any comments from neighbors on this one? No? Okay. Seems a pretty straightforward presentation.
Agreed.
Okay.
In that case, I would like to request a motion, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of a demolition permit to remove the existing pool.
Second that?
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes.
And I'll make a motion to recommend approval of a special exception to permit the construction of retaining walls and steps that will be constructed east of the 1978 coastal construction control setback line.
I'll second that.
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes.
And lastly, a motion to recommend approval of a level 3 architectural site plan to allow the demolition of the existing swimming pool and construction of a new pool and spa in approximately the same location with retaining walls and steps at the east end of the pool that will be constructed east of the 1978 coastal construction control setback line.
I'll second that.
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Could I ask one question?
Yeah, Mark.
It's buzzing around town now. This type of application, Greg, where will it go to Delray? Will it stay local, or what's the process as it's landscaping?
It's a level 3.
I believe it's a level 3
It is.
because it's got the special exception.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
At this point, everything's going to be processed the way it was until we make any changes.
So it still goes to Delray?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, sir.
I'm sorry. No, I realize it's going.
I understand why you asked the
And
question.
the last question, when is the commission meeting?
June
June
10th.
10th.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
And with that, can we move on to the second item on the agenda? It's a level 2 architectural site plan review to permit the construction of a 3.2 square foot portico and 306 square foot detached pavilion with a summer kitchen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm
morning.
Dr. Russell Rusicki, architect, representing the interest of Ryan and Nicole Weeks at 2520 Avenue au Soleil.
It should still, oh, no, I borrowed it. My bad.
I might just look at the screen. So here we have an existing single-story Spanish Mediterranean home. At the front, we're proposing a portico where there's an existing roof or awning over entry. The awning roof will be removed. And at the rear of the home, there's currently a large steel awning that spans across the back where there's a sunroom directly adjacent to a pool. So in removing that awning, they're allowing more natural light to come into their sunroom. The sunroom, they are converting into habitable space, leveling out the floor and conditioning that area. And at the southwest side, directly in line and centered with the pool, is a new proposed detached pavilion with a summer kitchen, which would essentially have a sink and a grill. The proposed plans also show interior renovations, which include demolition to basically open up the floor plan. In the design, we are adding an interior den where there was a former sitting area and renovating the kitchen as well as the bedrooms for more enjoyment, location of windows, better use in storage, and a larger and more improved master suite. The geometry of the home remains the same in this proposed design, with exception to the portico being added at the front as well as the detached pavilion. At the rear of the home, across the back, we are proposing to design a 30-foot span of glass, which is consisting of impact rated sliders by La Fenestra Perfetta series. They're very low profile, very large amount of glass. Even as designed, our glass on this facade facing west or rear is less than the 40% limitation. So that's in compliance. The entire backyard, including where the pavilion might be seen from south, west, or north, is entirely buffered by palms, 40 feet tall across the entire perimeter. At no point would you see any of these improvements, with exception to the front portico as proposed. What I'd like to do, instead of just running through the plans here, actually, there's one more component I'd like to speak of as a proposal in this project. The flat roof that's currently over the existing sunroom is intended to be replaced in kind with a better structure that actually allows for the ceiling to be elevated. The design of the roof itself is a TPO roof. It's a single ply membrane, which is essentially like a rubberized membrane with a thermoplastic coating. It's very strong, resilient, impact resistant if something were to hit into it, and low maintenance, and it's walkable as a roof surface. Currently, that flat roof is in place. We're replacing it in kind, in the same size and geometry and square footage as it is today. It's for more enjoyment and so that we can vault or expose the beams or rafters in the ceiling upon entry into the new sunroom.
What will the finish be on the top of that flat roof? I see that it's the plywood, but what finish on the?
Oh, it's a TPO. It's essentially a highly reflective white coating like it is today.
Right.
The only thing that I noticed was the north elevation, the north face.
Yes.
Is that a complete wall
The north face, are we referring to the
of
existing
the
condition?
main structure?
Yeah, actually, so that's already existing. We're not modifying it, but what happens is at the northeast side, there's a garage, a two-car garage
Right.
with a side entry door directly adjacent, which leads through obviously the garage and then into a secondary entry into the home. And then across that length is an entire facade, which is essentially existing to remain, including the roof gutter, fascia, eave, stucco. Only thing we're improving on that length would be the removal of the water heater, which is kind of an eyesore. It sits in a boxed enclosure that's out of plywood.
Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
It just looks like a big wall.
It is a very
I
big-
mean, and it was
yeah.
obviously built when the code allowed for
Big walls.
big, long walls.
That's correct. That actually was striking to me as well with this home.
Mhm.
But a good portion of that, I'd probably say 50% of that wall is directly buffered by the line of hedging
Right,
and
Mhm.
plantings.
right.
Yep.
Well,
You said you're relocating the ACs anyway,
That's correct.
as they show on the plan.
Yeah, everything goes to a better location, in my opinion, and less within visible sight in all directions. So I'll try to zoom in here, but what we have is 3D color renderings depicting the front portico. I've addressed it with an archway up to enlarged square columns. And then there's basically a knee wall on each side, which dresses it up. It's in proportion to the home. The eave is slightly elevated with respect to the existing eave of the home, which decorates that as a center. The roof barrel tile will match the existing home's barrel tile. As you can see here, landscaping will be maintained. Here's another view of that front. And then this is a view of the rear of the home looking east-southeast. You're seeing the pavilion at the right and the large span of glass running down and in alignment with or parallel to the pool. And then the master is at your left-hand side with those two windows.
Do you happen to have a color rendering of the north elevation?
I don't, because there's no changes there.
Right.
You mentioned that there's an expansion of the driveway as well.
I'm sorry?
Is there an expansion of the driveway?
There is. I apologize for not mentioning that. So they have existing, almost like a Chicago brick there. What happens is it's kind of pinched closer towards the house. I'll go back to the plot plan to show you what that looks like.
That pavilion remains unchanged from the previous proposal, right?
That is correct. So I'll just scroll back to the plot plan. So as it is now today, you basically can only drive a car up and through the driveway without parking a car beside it. You can see the hashed area calls for the expansion to become 20 feet wide across its perimeter. This is just currently lawn space at the moment, and we're not essentially encroaching on the line of the house. We're still keeping a landscape bed, which is currently there. And then at the radius where they take a turn back to the street, the curb cut and apron remain the same. However, they've requested a change to the radius as it meets that apron in order to get in and out easier from the garage or from that driveway.
Thank you.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
concludes my
Yeah,
presentation.
Yeah,
That
thank
looks,
you. Usual comment, is there any feedback from neighbours in terms of objections?
No,
Okay. In that case, can I ask,
Okay.
thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Can I ask for a motion, please?
okay, I'll make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan to permit the construction of a new 91.95 square foot portico and a 306 square foot detached pavilion with a summer kitchen.
Second that?
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And so we move on to the third item on the agenda today. Application submitted by Joe Peterson of Designs, Inc., Peters Pedersen Designings. Hi, Joe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd rather use this than,
Okay.
I'm not gonna touch that thing.
We go analog and digital here.
Pardon me?
We go analog and digital here.
Good morning. My name is Joe Peterson. I'm the landscape architect representing Ms. Pat Moran. And this is just a landscape enhancement of an existing house. Okay. All the trees that you see here are existing and they're all to remain. We're just enhancing hedging, ground covers and shrubs. There was a group, I think the reason that I'm here is there was a group of royal palms on the south side of the, up against the south side of the house over here. And when I did this plan, there were 7 of them. One was dead. And so that was the one we were going to remove. And then I received a call from somebody in the town and said that apparently the landscape contractor had removed all of them. So they were all taken out. So what we're doing is we're mitigating for the 6 royal palms by putting in 3 more additional coconut palms and 3 pigeon plum trees. And the pigeon plums are over here and 2 coconut palms here and here to enhance with the existing groupings of them. Also, there's an existing ficus hedge, 6-foot-high ficus hedge that surrounds the property, and we're proposing to remove that and replace it with a clusia hedge, 6-foot clusia.
Who was the landscaper reporting to?
I'm sorry?
Who did the landscaper? I know,
The landscape contractor is Land Designs out of Boca Raton, but I don't believe they did the tree removal.
Right.
I'm not sure who hired the tree removers. I don't even know who it was, honestly.
Right. Fair enough.
But anyways, they were all over here.
Yeah. I mean, this is, chicken and egg thing, but it's not viewed well when, it's a case
Of course.
we do this and then ask for
I was a little surprised myself.
Forgiveness
that phone call,
afterwards.
so.
It's just not what we do.
Do it and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are you doing to actually replace what the palms had been? Could you go through that a little bit more
Sure.
fully?
Again, there was one that was dead.
Right.
And that was proposed to be removed all along. And so there's 6 of them that were destroyed that we should have taken out. And so I didn't want to put them back. So I put in replacing with 3 coconut palms and 3 pigeon plum trees.
Of similar size?
No, the coconut palms are going to be smaller. They're back here and we can only get to manhandle coconut palms back there. They're going to have like 3 to 4 foot of gray wood. And then they'll be.
They grow
12 feet,
quickly.
of course.
Yeah.
And the pigeon plum tree, I didn't want to put any more palms in, so I decided some more canopy. So I proposed 3 12-foot high pigeon plums trees over there. I can make them any size. It just, I didn't know where else to put them. It's pretty heavily landscaped as it is.
Yeah, I assume the royal palms were considerably taller than those.
Yeah.
20, 25?
Oh, no, they were,
30?
they probably had 18 feet of gray wood.
Right.
They were kind of staggered. There was 1 or 2 smaller ones with about 10 feet of gray wood, so that 18 feet of gray wood plus 5 feet of a green stem and then the head. But I guess the reasoning was they were up against, a couple of them were up against the house. And Mrs. Moran was afraid of fronds falling. So that's.
So she just said, take them out.
Probably.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of thing that we do frown upon, as you're well aware.
Yes.
I only wish she were here.
Yes.
And you're going to be replacing the 20-odd foot trees with 12-foot trees. Those 3
Canopy
trees on the front of the
leaf
driveway.
trees, yeah. I'm replacing, and for 3 of them, we destroyed royal palms and we're replacing them with a medium-sized canopy tree.
I mean, if this had come the other way around, obviously, we'd have probably said, yeah, we can understand it, whatever. It's the timeline of do it and then ask for forgiveness that really doesn't stick well for us. Yeah, I mean, it's not, Joe, it's not to put you through it. We understand that the client,
It's not your fault.
it's not your fault. We
No,
understand that.
In all honesty, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say that Ms. Moran was destroying them and then asking for permission later. I'm not going to say.
No, it's probably better.
But I can, if you all feel more comfortable with more pigeon plums, or I'll put in royal palms. But there's just not a whole lot of room there to put anything in.
Yeah, and to that point, Mr. Peterson's done a good job with the landscaping, because I guess he's indicated, and Greg and I were there when this was happening, so I think Greg might have been the one that contacted you.
Yeah.
It is heavily landscaped, and he is adding some landscaping out on that border, but as he mentioned, the landscaping that has been removed was close to the house. So maybe, are you doing anything to replace something in those areas that were gone, or maybe the ARPB would be interested in hearing a proposal to mitigate
it's just a
that
general
location?
Upgrade in the landscaping. Across the front of the house, there's 2 layers of hedges, and they're 16 and 12 inches high, and they're a little tighter. So we're going to take them out, use a lot of the same plants, and put in 4 layers of landscaping. And up against the house, it'll be at the windowsill height. So it'll be podocarpus hedge and a variegated pisciform and Grianum ficus, and the ground covers. And we've added a number of, gardenia trees all around the site and at the front, and just really filling in some of these existing planters, groups of plantings. They're about half plants and half sand. So we're just filling them in with whatever's there. And that goes all the way around the house. Again, the back side, there's a bunch of loroipy, and we're taking all those loroipy out and putting in the podocarpus, the variegated pisciform, some flowering shrubs, stuff like that. A couple of flowering trees outside this back breakfast area as well.
Board members, I mean, Can I walk up there and point some things out?
You can do.
Sure.
I mean, you can see the overall enhancement that you're, trying to do, but obviously our focus is on those trees and making
Sure,
sure
the
that,
reasoning makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So, we got there after, I think, 5 of them had been taken down. And there was one that was, in the process of being taken down. And that, the one that was still up was in this corner of the house, and it, in fact, was growing on the house.
okay.
So that one, totally understand. And so I'm trying to remember, I mean, because they were all taken down when we got there, but I think most of them were kind of in this
Yeah,
area.
that's all them dashed in. I actually feel located them.
Okay, so I think the majority of them were kind of located in one area, not spread out over the whole lot. So,
Right.
and I think, am I correct that they were mainly in this area?
All of them are exclusively right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cabbage palms here. I just thought, well, where are we screening from? That was my thinking of putting the pigeon pump there. So roughly in the same area where the royal palms were taken out. I didn't want to put anything back against the house, and everything's screened pretty well. There's a lot of cabbage palms and and the big ficus and cedar trees there, so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the overall, presentation and the design of it is.
I think
very pleasurable.
what you presented is very attractive. However, I do want to put into the record that when this kind of transgression is in process, that the usual thing to do is to tell the owner to replace the trees as they were. And then if they later want to destroy them, that's up to them after they have gotten permission from the ARPB. That wasn't your fault. That was the owner's fault or the landscaping crew that did the work. But I want that in the record because in the future, we do not want people feeling that they can go ahead and destroy vegetation and then come back and beg for forgiveness.
Right.
So.
And we have a due process. For example, if there's one, as Greg said, lying on the house, of course we turn around and say, well, there's due reason. So that's, we aren't.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
I sit on a code enforcement board south of here, so I
In that case, Jeff,
understand completely.
in that case, okay. Anything from neighbours? Were they offended, knowledgeable? Any feedback?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. In that case,
No, I think your plan is fine though.
Yeah,
Other than
and
that.
making sure we have a note of courtesies for the record point, please. In that case, can I call for a motion, please?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan to permit the removal of certain existing landscape, which includes 6 royal palm trees, and install new landscape enhancement.
Second that?
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
I should add to that motion, after permission has been granted by the ARPB on large removals.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Can I ask the staff now for guidance on point 4, please, of the agenda, where we stand?
Absolutely. If you remember at the last meeting, the applicant was here and had requested a postponement because they were engaging a new architect. And up to last week, and I don't know if either one of these two gentlemen are here on behalf of the Idlemans.
It's 920 Indigo Point? No?
Okay. So last week when we were, putting everything together for the agenda, maybe even the week before, I got in touch with the architect that the applicants had engaged, and he did not have any new documents at that point in time to provide to the town, and we needed to get the packets out. We had notices that we needed to get out, so we went ahead, we put this on the agenda, and I never heard back. The architect said he was gonna call the applicant and then get back in touch with me. I never heard back from him. So we put this on here, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong here, but as you can see, we have recommended denial of this. I mean, we have not, this is the 5th month that we've had this on the agenda.
Yeah.
And so we're prepared to send a notice out to the applicants, a notice of violation that they've done work without a permit, and arrange a special magistrate hearing.
Okay. Is there a timeline on that for that to go out?
Well, we
So-
need to give them a reasonable amount of time to respond to it. So I'll let the attorney kind of explain that.
Right, so, if the board feels like that the applicant has been given sufficient time to get her plans together, meet with architects and bring something to the board, I mean, it's been a number of months, then you can go ahead with staff's decision. I mean, there were recommendation, there was, they were here last month. They're aware that the meeting was going forward this month. We're going on a legal notice that is now months old. I just don't know, for the purposes of making sure that the neighbors are aware that this application is going to be heard before the ARPB. I mean, it's now 6 months later. I mean, we're hearing it every month. So if you're satisfied that staff's recommendation based on a previous presentation of a nondescript architectural style and some other issues that were brought up before the ARPB a number of months ago are sufficient to recommend denial, then we would go ahead and we would send her a code enforcement letter indicating that she made changes that were not permitted under the code and that she needs to either restore her home to the previous architectural style or make an application before the ARPB. And that would be a new application with whatever her new plans are, and that would need to be happen within 30 days. So that would incentivize some changes. Otherwise, we would start code enforcement proceedings.
And down that line, we would have to make a motion to go down that route.
You would just make a motion to deny. I'm just explaining
To deny the whole thing.
the process
And
that we
so
would
it
go
would-
through.
Really throw it back into having to totally reapply from stage one.
Yes, sir,
And
that's correct.
also to correct what has been done.
Unless she got approval, if she's, so the way to fix the violation is to restore it to its
Yeah,
previous, or to make an application, in which case we would pause, we would see how the application went, and then if it was approved, then there would be no code enforcement.
But it would be a new application.
Yeah.
with
Right.
New fees and all.
So that's quite a motion, but I think it's fairly clear.
But, and it
Okay.
would, again, that was just for your information, the process, so it would just be
Between
the,
ourselves.
The motion as
presented, yes, sir.
presented
Yeah.
here is going to cover all of that.
Yes, sir, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's great.
In that case, I'll make a motion to deny a demolition permit to remove the existing decorative facade items, round columns, and existing railings.
Second that?
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes.
And furthermore, I'll make a motion to deny a level 2 architectural site plan to permit construction of new decorative facade items, square balcony and trellis columns, and new balcony railings.
Second that?
Mr. Roach,
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Chairman Murphy.
Yes. Thanks, Curtis. And with that, we go to any items, other items by staff,
Nothing new.
items by board members,
No.
No.
the public who's with us. Any comments or points you'd like to raise? Thank you. Thank you for attending. And with that, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good.